Good evening, folks. Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. Full-time reaction to Celtic 3, Hearts 0 here at Celtic Park. I've got Martin and Darren with me to go over what was a huge victory for us, Martin, and I thought one of the more comfortable games we've had for a long time in the end.
We've been feeling for the last few weeks that things are starting to come back together personnel-wise. We're starting to play a bit better. I think today, since our defeat at Tynecastle, which feels like a long time ago now, I think that's now 6 wins, 1 draw, which is really a moral victory, wasn't it, when you look back now? And then, of course, a cup semi-final victory. So they've really turned the corner. When you look at that personnel today, Paul, you run through that team, you say Kyogo found his form, Maeda. I think Maeda should be starting, and of course he hasn't been fit, but he's pivotal in that team. Forrest feels like a signing. You go in the middle with Tati, what a player. O'Reilly, he was very honest last week talking about the journey that he's been on, and he just looks like he's in a special place. The captain was a standout today. And then you go at the back, Johnson looks like a new player all of a sudden. He had a really long spell underperforming, and now he looks really good. Carter Vickers is Carter Vickers, what a player he is. And then Scales gets his contract, and Taylor's been pretty consistently good. And of course you finish with Hart, and Hart just he's desperate to finish his career on the high. So you think, we're not carrying anybody, nobody's underperforming, and today it just all kind of came together, and it's felt like this has been coming. There was a wee bit of nervousness going into that game today. No fans were really optimistic, having had 2 defeats against Hearts this year, and it's not a bad Hearts side, and you're thinking Shankland will probably get his goal. Celtic were brilliant today, from the very first minute to the very last minute. At long last, 90 minutes worth of performance. I've really enjoyed today. I didn't want it to end.
Aye, it was a great performance in the end, Darren. I thought the game at the start, first 15-20 minutes, Hearts had most of the ball. It was actually a bit frantic, a bit end-to-end, a bit open, the game, which is it's not the kind of game you associate when Hearts come here. Usually try and keep it tight. But I thought they had the majority. There, a lot of corners, a flurry of corners in the first 5-10 minutes. But we looked a real threat in the counter-attack. And of course, 3 or 4 minutes in, we get our first corner. It comes back out. Hatati puts it back into the danger area, and Kyogo's there to head it in. A great start for us, because obviously, as Martin says, that a couple of games against Hearts this year, we were really underperformed, so it was important for us to get that first goal.
There was a wee bit of a scare the very first minute, I think, when Hearts actually got in behind us, and it agitated the crowd a wee bit. And you're right, Hearts did come and have a go in the first 10 minutes, but I think I just said to you 5 minutes ago, sometimes when teams come here and they do that, it benefits us, because it leaves gaps behind in their defence. And now our first goal does come for like a corner. I think Zander Clark comes out and punches it, and it was. You hear everyone always when it comes to a player at the edge of the box, the crowd's out shoot, but Hatati's just got that intelligence and composure just to loft it into the box, and perfectly for Kyogo just to run onto it. I was a bit worried that it was offside because Zander Clark was so far off his line, but thankfully VAR gave it to us.
I think it was Shankland was on the goal line, and he was too deep.
Aye, perfect. And then I think Hearts even again, after the first goal, it was still end to end. Normally when we go 1-up, teams go into that shell, and then it can just get a bit flat and boring after that. But they kept going, and again, to our advantage, it just kept going for us. And Kyogo again, I love the fact that he's got a couple of goals, because I'm not sure he's scored in a few games. Good for his confidence. And then even the second half as well, even though we didn't score, Martin, you said there you're surprised it wasn't however many goals, and the second half we just kept going and we kept going, and even to the end getting a penalty as well. Some people come back on Matt O'Reilly. I thought James Forrest was really good as well. I don't know if it's almost like he's I don't want to say 10 years younger again, that might be a bit of push, but it does feel like he's maybe back in his 20s again, getting him in 75-80 minutes. That was unheard of James Forrest last season. Obviously he was getting hardly any game time last season, and when he was coming on, he's probably a bit not fatigued, but just ring rust basically. But because now we're in the situation where wingers aren't as good as they were last season, he's playing a lot more football, and that run of games has probably given him a bit more form. So happy.
Yeah, absolutely, Martin. The second goal was a thing of beauty in it. As Darren says, Hearts did have a go in that first half, and it left those spaces, but Matt O'Reilly picks out one of the best passes you've seen all season, and Kyogo does really well, because he's shoulder to shoulder with the defender, but he just gets his body in and he takes it first time over his shoulder, past Zander Clark, and as if we didn't know already, if you give Kyogo chances, he'll score goals.
I mean, I don't know, I was more impressed with the pass or the finish. I mean, the pass was sublime, wasn't it? Perfectly weighted. Just to even see that, because it would have been easy with the space he had and the position of the field he was in, was just to play, often it frustrates you as a supporter, just to play that safe pass, but he didn't. He played the ambitious pass. If the ball felt like it was in there for an eternity from where I was sitting, I was just like, oh, is it going to land good for him? Is he going to control it? Has he left it too long to put his body in front of the player? But he just let it land, and he just hit it perfectly, didn't he, and just placed it. It was a really good goal. I mean, both the first goal and the second goal were worth a watch. I'm sure we'll all watch it 2 or 3 times when we get home. But for me, that just it just epitomised the confidence that we played when they started the game. What was that, 21 minutes in? 21 minutes in, and we're 2-0 up, and all we wanted then was, to be hungry for more goals. Now, let's not kid ourselves on. Hearts did have half a dozen good chances. Hart had a good save in that first half.
He had a brilliant save at 1-0, by the way, which is pivotal in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, they didn't come in as dances, they didn't sit in, they came to, try and get a goal, because Celtic have been conceding quite a number of goals. So I think they thought, come and get one or two, get the crowd to get a bit nervous, but the crowd were good today as well, and I know at times the players were trying to G the crowd up, but I thought the crowd were good even without that.
Fantastic.
And yeah, we deserved our third goal, and that margin of victory, as Darren says, we were kind of reflecting on, you could and should have probably been more than 3 goals, but job done for me.
Aye, absolutely, Dan. I thought in the second half we were much better, especially without the ball. Hearts did find spaces to progress it in the first half, but I thought second half we really smothered them, we pressed them brilliantly. Didn't let them out their own half for vast spells of that second period. The pressing all across the front line was brilliant, and the midfield we were getting it right as well. There was wee gaps in midfield, I thought, in the first 10 minutes, but in the second half we really pinned them back, and we played with intensity. Martin's talked about the crowd there. I think the crowd were brilliant today, but they really feed off that intensity, and the players pinning Hearts back, and it really helped the energy in the crowd.
There was a lot of, I liked the mentality and the attitude from the players today in particular. There was in the aggression as well. Sometimes we're critical of the aggression from Celtic players. I thought there was a moment in the second half where, I can't remember the Hearts player, but it was they got us the counter attack and they were breaking, and you see McGregor sprinting back, he makes one tackle and he chases it again, he puts in a slide tackle, and I think there was not MD sat in their seat that wasn't up and applauding him for it. That's just like a captain leading from there. Him in particular today, I thought since he's come back from injury, he's looked up very, very rusty and unfit. I actually said in the group chat a few days ago, I think he's carrying something and they might need to get some surgery or whatever at the end of the season. But today, I looked at the Callum McGregor that we're so used to, just a captain's attitude that I think reflected on the players today.
Yeah, we were ruthless in that first period, Martin, but I think the overall performance was much better in the second half. We make the changes, again I think they all contributed. Ida, some really nice touches, some really nice passes out wide as well, and we get the penalty, Shankland handball for the corner. You could tell as soon as he done it, he wasn't even arguing it, he just looked guilty.
Try to hold his face.
He looked guilty, he sinned, didn't he? And Matt O'Reilly, it's late in the game, but 2-0 is always a nervy lead, but he absolutely smashed it into the top corner. I don't think Xander Clark, by the way, had a few good saves today, but you could put 2 Xander Clarks in there, they wouldn't have saved that.
I mean, Xander Clark in the one where he had the 2 consecutive saves, I think it was O'Reilly and Hattati, wasn't it? Yeah. Brilliant. So he was in form. He's under a bit of pressure, isn't he, to put in a few performances to get himself at the Euros, and I think that's why he was playing. By the penalty, I think the lion's share of the crowd were thinking, surely he'll not do it a second time. And probably most expecting him to do a second time, just because he's a confidence player and he's a good player, and wouldn't have been surprised if he did it and executed it well. I think Xander Clark expected it as well. He looked a bit slow to go down, almost as if I'm going to stand my ground. You're not doing that to me. But what a penalty! What a penalty! That wee boy's saying, "Oh, surely Ida's taking it." And I'm saying, "No, O'Reilly's on penalties permanently now, or at least I hope he is."
It's to lose now, isn't it? The penalties.
He's so good, and he's just smashed it in that top corner. And his reaction was a really good one as well. So he's massive for us. A huge player. I mean, for me, it's him, Hattati, Carter, Vickers are probably the 3 that make a big difference in that team and make us tick. But of course you need more than 3 players, and there's lots happening around about. To your point on the subs, Paul, I think Maeda comes on and gives the team a lift. Awata, I know he's had a wee bit of criticism, but overall I think the fans are really pleased with what Awata brings, and of course Ida comes on as well. So 3 not bad subs, and I think Palmer came on late on for McGregor. So the bench was decent. I was quite happy with those 4, and as I say, I could have sat and watched another half an hour of that quite comfortably. It was just one of those days where the energy levels were there, the team were up for it, the tackles were flying in, and we played some fantastic football, really positive throughout the game as well. Yeah, I think Awata's intensity off the ball always helps us, doesn't it? Particularly late in games. Dan, we've discussed the energy in the crowd already, even Brendan Rodgers whipping the crowd up, given how well the team were playing and how they were pinning Hearts back in the second half. That's huge for us. Going into next week, I mean, we've got one more big performance to get one hand on the trophy. And that positive energy in there will be difficult for any team to live with if we can replicate that next week.
Well, the players and the fans know the stakes. That's why we're at crunch time of the season now. That's why you don't see Celtic part like that every week, and they know that a 3-0 result today puts us in a terrific spot going forward. Rangers at home next week. Don't want to say if we get a draw then it's all but done, but I think after that you'd be rubbing your hands at that. Obviously we're going to win. We're going to win the game, aren't we? But it puts us in a perfect position. I think the goal difference now is 8 to us. Obviously they've got a game to play against Kilmarnock tomorrow. Derek McInnes, I think we know where his allegiances lie, so they might not put in a 10 out of 10 performance. I'm only joking. But next week I think is going to be massive. I'm nervous as always. I hate these games. I hate them. But if we can come away with a result, I think the league's in the bag.
Aye, we're almost there, Martin. Applying pressure, we talked the last home game we were here about applying pressure in the title race in a different spot. Rangers went on the next 7 days to drop 5 points. There's more pressure on them tomorrow because they cannot afford to slip up at all tomorrow. They know they've got to come here next week for a tough game in front of that crowd against those players that they haven't beaten all season. And you know that we'll break up for that next week.
And they're not sure. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about Rangers because I don't follow their performances or their personnel too much, but what I do know is they've got an unsettled starting 11. They don't quite know their form 11. They've got some injury worries. Focusing on Celtic and the game next week, we've got the Brendan Rodgers record. We've got our results and performances against Rangers this year. We've been consistently good in the 3 games. We've got the fans, no Rangers fans here. We've got the impetus personnel. We couldn't ask for any more. 1 or 2 players maybe not 100% match fit because they've just come back, but everything's just fallen into place. I am the polar opposite to you, Dan. I am super confident going into next week. I really am, and I can't wait for the game. And I can't say anything other than a home win. But it's an interesting scenario now because a draw is a really good result. But I'm confident we'll go out and get the win. And the win's just about job done with the 8-goal margin. We go out and even win by a single goal. You're thinking it's possibly double figures or thereabouts. I know Rangers are likely to go out and maybe win by 1 or 2 goals tomorrow, but you win 2-0 or win by 2 goals next week, you're 10 goals ahead with a couple of games to go after that. So it's pretty much job done, and I'm positive that the manager will be saying that. Go out and win this game, and then you've got a wee bit leeway to go in the last 2 games. So I can't wait. So excited. There's no reason for us to be fearful. It's not as if they've performed well against us this year. They've not got good results. As I say, their personnel's nowhere near as strong as ours. There's a wee bit of unrest. Their form's not good, and it's the polar opposite for us.
Darren, more than a few candidates for man of the match today. Good individual performances across the pitch. Who was it for you?
It's got to be the wee man, innit? Delighted for him. Honourable mentions, obviously, Matt O'Reilly. You've sang his praises already, so I won't get into too much about that. Carter Vickers was a rock at the back. I just love his aggression, man. He's not the biggest, tallest guy, but he's just like a bull. He's just a bull. And Joe Hart as well, the save, which we've talked about. Solid game all around. I thought you mentioned the Hearts corners. Feels like everyone that came in, he was confidently off his line to punch it away. He's took a lot of criticism for that, so as you said, he's kind of getting to the end of his career and he's probably feeling confident, but Kyogo for me all day.
Martin?
I'm going to go with Kyogo as well. He's not scored a load of goals this year, but those were 2 massive goals for us, and he's one of those players as well that loves the pressure, he loves the big games. He really relishes the big occasion, and particularly at home as well. He's got a good rapport with the crowd, and the crowd were up for it, and he was up for it. So, as Dan says, few candidates, but Kyogo for me.
Aye, no prize for guessing my man of the match either. We'll see you next week for the build up to that derby here at Celtic Park. Thanks for watching.